Start it then? All right. Right, for the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll start the regular meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. All right. I'll try to get us back on track here for time. Or any citizens wishing to address the board? Anyone wishing to address the board on an item not on the agenda may come forward at this time and be recognized by the board chair. Please state your name, address for the record. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. A personnel complaint against an individual county employee may not be heard initially at a board meeting. Personnel complaints may be submitted to the board in writing through the county administrator's office. A person addressing the board may not use profanity or vulgar language. Is there anybody wishing to address the board? I assume nobody online. No. Okay, we will move on, seeing no one, to the approval of the agenda. Commissioner Winger.
Okay, I move to approve the agenda with the following changes. Administrators report, move to item 12.
I hear a second.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Carlson. All in favor of approving the amended agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Approval of the consent agenda. You hear a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Gould. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Winger. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Moving on to the jail project development agreement. That Administrator Barry, yep, do you have that one?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to make a few comments about the development agreement. As you know, we're required to acquire all local, regional, and statewide permits for the construction of the jail. We've been doing that over the last several months. This is one of the last remaining approvals we need. And it's from our local government entity, the City of Bemidji. City of Bemidji follows a development agreement process for approvals, including landscaping, site work, utility connections, those types of things. We had received this initially several weeks back and had run the documents through the Design and Operations Committee and also through our county attorney's office. And they were rejected by the Design and Operations team and also our county attorney. And so we have worked behind the scenes with the city representatives to update and amend various documents and clarify certain concerns and issues. And a revision was issued just a couple weeks back. That revision did go back through the Design and Operations team as well as the county attorney's office. And we are in agreement at this time with those documents and would recommend that the county board favorably consider those so we can acquire the last, or essentially the second to last remaining permit approval we'll need to move the project forward.
Thank you, Administrator Barry. Any comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, I would move to accept the jail project development agreement with the City of Bemidji.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Carlson. Do I hear a second for that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Winger. Discussion. So my understanding, has this already been accepted by the city then? Or?
Yes, so Mr. Chair, it has been accepted by the staff of the city, who tell me it's an administrative action essentially.
Okay,
And they are waiting for us to make the approval before then they'll sign it. I'm told that they can do a pretty quick turnaround because it's an administrative approval.
okay,
So we have to essentially sign first, so to speak. So your approval tonight would allow the board chair to sign and then for us to deliver it to the city. And then I suspect within a week, they should be able to turn that around for us.
okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, I'll call for the question then. All in favor of approving the jail project developers agreement with the City of Bemidji, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried 4-0. Next one is the easements with the city of Bemidji, and this is for the roundabout project. And that's you want any update on that, Administrator Barry? Or
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was a part of the discussion that you had a little bit earlier with the county engineer. And so we had presumed that because, at least from an administrative standpoint, everything was in order. We had negotiated the pricing, and we're okay with the easements language and their locations, and had satisfactory answers to questions and concerns that were addressed internally, that we were recommending approval. If the board still has questions or concerns, certainly now is the time to address those. Unfortunately, the city engineer, as I mentioned earlier, is not available for those questions. He sends his regrets for that. But we're in good company with our county engineer and Shane Foley, our natural resources director, who have both been working on this project in some capacity, and I can certainly help as well. We do feel like the question about the roundabouts is one that I think will persist regardless of whether it will be with this project or the next project or the one following that. The issue in regard to timing is critical for the city. That's been expressed to us several times in order to save taxpayers' money and advance the project with a package that includes other road work and sites as well. So that's partly why we would recommend, but of course, we'll take your direction, and that's what's before you this evening is to see if you're ready to make that decision or if you want to take a different path.
Thank you. Open up for either a motion or a discussion. I still have concerns about the ball field piece of it and the timing of that, and so go ahead, Commissioner Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too have some concerns, but I have not heard the baseball folks approach anyone. So I guess a couple of things. Number one, I'm just not in favor of that roundabout there. However, it's not our road. They can take it by eminent domain. But if they did that, my concern as a taxpayer is now eventually, if they do that, but they don't do it in conjunction with the other project, now as a taxpayer, it's going to cost me more because they have some money coming in that they would lose if they don't have that. And listening to our county engineer talk about safety concerns in the school, I guess I would be reluctantly in favor only because of those reasons. So safety number one, and not having heard from the baseball folks, and saving some taxpayer dollars to get it done, I guess, again, reluctantly, I would be in favor.
Does somebody want to make a motion one way or another?
I'll move to approve the easement with the city of Bemidji
Okay,
as proposed.
motion by Commissioner Gould. No, nothing regarding the timing of the project or anything on that.
As it's laid out in the project,
Okay.
so it's fine.
I don't know that wouldn't be binding anyways, probably. So, do we have a motion by Commissioner Gould? Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Second from somewhat reluctantly too, but second by Commissioner Winger. Further discussion, I would just emphasize with Commissioner Carlson. I would hope that the city would try to reach out to the ball fields, just like the state did with the county fair, to limit impact to our youngsters that are trying to have tournaments and enjoy the summer. So that being said, are there any other comments? All right, I'll call for the question then. All in favor of supporting the approval of the easements with the city of Bemidji for the roundabout, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes 4-0. Next up, we've got solid waste site foreman position. Got our public works director and highway engineer coming up here. Thanks, Bruce.
Good evening, commissioners. This topic, I'm here to request a change in a position in the solid waste division of the Public Works Department. This is not adding a full-time equivalent. I guess I want to put that out there first. This is just changing the position that we have currently. I'm asking for to create a site foreman position, and this would be at the Bemidji Transfer Station. I provided a existing organizational chart and then the proposed organizational chart to kind of help explain what we're looking for. But currently, right now, we have a solid waste operations coordinator, and he oversees 11 different people. 2 of them are roll-off truck drivers. It's the black duck transfer station operator, the landfill operator, and then the remainder are the people that work at the Bemidji transfer station. This site foreman position that we would create would take one of those people at the Bemidji transfer station and create a foreman that would oversee the 6 people underneath, the remainder of the 6 people, and then they would report to the operations coordinator. So it kind of reduces the number of direct reports for the overall coordinator and give a foreman for the operations at the Bemidji transfer station. The Bemidji transfer station is the big hub for us. We see up to, on average, 700 vehicles coming through there. That's not just people, but it's how many visits we get to the facility. And then we're sending all of that waste out of there. And so we're averaging the 6 loads a day, 5 to 6 loads a day that are going out of there every day that we're loading and shipping out. And so it's a busy operation for us, and that site foreman would oversee that type of the operations of the transfer station, the loading and the shipping of the material, and then all of the people that are coming through and bringing their waste. And so that foreman would oversee that operation.
Commissioner Carlson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move to approve the creation of a site foreman position in the Solid Waste Division of Public Works.
Motion by Commissioner Carlson. Do I hear a second? Second by Commissioner Winger. So to further discussion here, is this subject to union approval, the MOU that was in the packet? I assume they haven't approved it yet. That they subject to our approval, they will take it under consideration. So it wouldn't be official until they approved it.
Correct. I ran the MOU past them. They ran it past their attorney and they're fine with it. And so
Okay.
it's just a matter of then this gets approved, then they would take it to their members for their approval.
Okay. And budget, this position going to be a little more money than I would assume? And is that in the budget, or where's that? Or is that just coming out of the profit, so to speak?
So the position has been reviewed by Baker Tilly to give it the grade, and then we have budgeted for it. We had actually had budgeted for multiple changes, but this is the only one that we're coming forward with. And so yes, it's already in the budget.
Okay, that's all I have for questions. Anybody else have any? Okay, and seeing no further discussion, I'll call for the question. All in favor of approving the solid waste site foreman position, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, it is approved 4-0. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
2025 Development Fund Grant Appropriations. So Diane, are you going to pull up a spreadsheet, or how do you want to handle that, Administrator Barry?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll have Diane pull up the spreadsheet that then you can work off here live. But just a little bit of background, just a reminder that the board did set aside $45,000 as a combined allocation for the development fund grants for 2025. We did, following that direction, post an advertisement both in the newspaper, on our website, and sent out an invitation as well to all those who participated in the past that we're aware of. An invitation on January the 22nd. We gave applicants about a month or so to put their applications together, and they were due on February 21st. The application packet with all of the essential information was then emailed to the county board on February 25th to try to give you a little bit of a jump start, since it's a pretty large packet. I know that you're aware. What we have available here on the board is the allocations. Historically, we have essentially prorated each commissioner's allocation so that in the end that they would sum up to be no more than the full allocation that the board had agreed upon last month, or a month, I should say 2 months ago now. So that's what we have available for you. And of course, you can play with the numbers as you like, try to influence each other's numbers, that kind of stuff. I'm sure it could get a lengthy meeting here if we get too crazy on this, but But anyway, you do have that capability here, and eventually what we would like after you finalize the numbers is a formal motion and approval, and then I can go and let the applicants know what their allocations will be for this year.
Okay, thank you. Somebody want to go first? Do you have numbers written down and we can just tell them to Diane one at a time and she can punch them in and then we can decide if we want to make any changes? Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Carlson.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Start at the top and.
Yeah, Beltrami County Agriculture, 15,000. Beltrami County Historical Society, 2,360. Black Duck Golf Course, $440. Black Duck Area History and Arts Center, $1,200. Boys and Girls Club, $6,000. Greater Bemidji, $20,000, and that should be 45. I do have a question for Attorney Hanson. David, I am a board member of Greater Bemidji, and I'm just wondering if, when it comes time to vote, that was my offering, but I don't know if when it comes time to vote, if I have to abstain because of that. I just wanted to get a clarification.
I believe you're a member of Greater Bemidji due to your presence on the county board, right? Or are you a member of Greater Bemidji from a different avenue?
It's a little more complicated than that. There's not, the Greater Bemidji board is an invite board. Now,
Because the county
typically,
has a seat on
typically
it.
they invite a county commissioner,
Yeah.
but they don't have to.
Mhm.
But in my case, when Commissioner Lukacek was done serving as county commissioner, Greater Bemidji reached out to me and said, we'd like to have you on the board. So I accepted I am on the board, so I just need to make sure that I don't do anything that's not right.
But you're serving on that board in your
Because you're
capacity as a county commissioner.
Yes.
If the answer to that question is yes. then there's
Probably
no
yes.
conflict.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Then there's no conflict of interest. Because I know you're involved in a private business as well. If you're serving on that board as John Carlson, part of a private business entity, then there would be a potential conflict of interest and you would, choose to recuse yourself if you want to.
Oh.
The choice to recuse yourself is yours. I can only give you advice.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't violate any. So you're saying it's probably okay to vote for
I
it?
think
Okay,
so.
thank you very much. Thank you. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
all right.
Go ahead. Commissioner
Sorry.
Gould.
Okay. Beltrami County Ag Association, 10,000. Beltrami County Historical Society, 2,000. Skip down to Boys and Girls Club, 6,500. Friends of Bemidji State Park, 5,000. Greater Bemidji, 20,000. Watermark Art Center, 1,500. That's it.
Thank you. And Commissioner Winger?
Beltrami County Ag, I'd say 20. 2,000 on the Historical Society. Boys and Girls Club, 6,000. Go 1,200 on the Black Duck Art Center. Greater Bemidji, I'd go 20.
I think that's more than you have left there.
Was it?
Yep, yep. You gotta take
We're over that.
take 4,200 off of there, so.
Okay.
15,800.
15.
15,800, I think, isn't it?
There we
All
go.
right. Okay,
Much? No.
so I think I'll let's try 30,000 on the Ag Association. And Black Duck area history and art, we'll do 1,000. And Greater Bemidji will do 14,000. I think that's it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just want to say how I think this is a really good process. I know there'd be some county boards throughout the state that would be here for 6 hours doing this kind of thing if we didn't have Mr. Barry and Diane guiding the ship here a little bit with the Excel spreadsheet.
Well,
So
this is a very fair way to do
Yes,
it,
it
and,
is.
you know, and it allows us to massage things to, you know, hopefully get a decent amount of money for those things that either are affecting our district. But I went through and I looked at some of these, and I'm not, putting some of the money down on some of the things based on the requirements that are listed in this. There are certain things in here where, you know, it says that it shouldn't be the sole source of funding, where it shouldn't go towards personnel. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff in Greater Bemidji actually talked about personnel costs, which aren't really applicable. You know, we're not supposed to do it for wages or anything. So that's, you know, one of the reasons why I made the decisions that I made based on the requirements that we're supposed to be going by. So is anybody wanted to make any changes on anything that they, of their numbers now that they see where the numbers are all at from everybody? No?
I'm good.
Everybody good?
Yeah. I'm fine.
And look for a motion to approve the numbers as presented here.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gould,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Carlson. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried 4-0. So we have that. Now we'll move on to the administrator's report. Administrator Barry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll try to make this brief since we're running a little bit late, later than normal, I should say. Just want to let you know I'm preparing for Bemidji Day of the Capitol. Of course, that occurs tomorrow. It'll be all-day event, probably 16, 17 hours or something like that. I'll be carrying the messages to the legislature in regard to our legislative platform, concerns around the governor's budget and impacts to our operations. Also concerns around abbreviated facility investments, particularly around our jail and landfill that we've had to sunset early due to regulatory changes. And then, of course, the impact on unfunded mandates to our operation. And I had mentioned that before. I had undertaken an exercise with the staff to essentially look back around 3 years or so in a not completely exhaustive, but pretty thorough manner at the unfunded mandates, regulatory adjustments, rules, interpretations, and rule changes, underfunding, and formula adjustments that have occurred and impacted the county over the last 3 years or so. So I put this one-page flyer that I'm intending to distribute to legislators as I meet with them to talk about and help them visualize what the actual impact is to our operation. So I just want to run through this with you. The upper left graph or pie chart talks about one-time costs associated with recent unfunded state mandates, including all of those categories I had just mentioned. And of course, the new jail is probably the biggest one, $80 million that we've had to come up with through a 5/8 local option sales tax. What's next on the horizon is 9.1 million plus or minus for the landfill that we are going to lose 10 years of life on because of the regulatory changes. In the jail, we've lost about 15 to 20 years of life on. Other impacts on a one-time basis include impacts to Health and Human Services, Human Resources, and the Sheriff's Office. So in total, you know, we're approaching almost $90 million of one-time impacts over a very short period of time. If you add that to the ongoing annual costs for recent and impending unfunded state mandates, the number gets much larger, of course. You can see Health and Human Services impacts, about 1.8 million, almost 300,000 for Human Resources, Environmental Resources, or Services rather, is about 180,000, and then 1 million for the Sheriff. The graph on the lower right talks about or shows the different types of mandates that are impacting our operation. And you can see that by more than double or about double, the amount of impact is coming largely from new mandates, at least over this last 2.5 to 3 year look back. There are about 8 that are coming from reductions and/or were underfunded, and about 6 of them that are regulatory changes. And then rulemaking and formula changes are about 1 in each of those categories as well. So these impacts from the past couple of years alone essentially require the county to raise more than $92 million, which requires property tax increases of approximately 15% and a new local option sales tax of 5/8%. So we just want to make it very clear that the decisions that occur down at the State House have very real impacts on our operation, on our property taxes, and other taxing that has to happen in order for us to carry the flag that the State House essentially raises for us. So just wanted kind of a quick, simple way of communicating this that was easy to digest and very graphic. I hope that meets the needs, but if you have any suggestions on this, be willing to take those suggestions and make modifications time permitting. Moving on, I just wanted to mention we did receive bad news, or sad news, I should say, about the Shade Store closing in Black Duck, which has been a big manufacturing and retail facility that has served our community in Black Duck and certainly the county well for many, many, many years, employing over 300 people at one point in time in its heyday. Now 115 folks are being let go. So I've been working with other local area leaders in an attempt to try to reach out and see if we can't help those employees transition into new careers or new jobs or whatnot. So we've been talking about maybe hosting a job fair up there. And if we can recruit some good folks that can fill our hard to fill positions or open positions that have been around for a while, we're intending to do that. So we don't have anything scheduled yet. I'm trying to reach out and work with Shade Store representatives as well as others. But that's something that we might plan for here over the next couple of weeks or so. And I'll give you more information about that as it presents itself. Just quickly, the county newsletter should be distributed here pretty quick, so you'll be able to see that. I hesitated whether I should share what you should expect to see, but I think you'll be delighted. We have a new look for the newsletter. Thanks to our principal editor-in-chief over here to my right. So I do think it's actually a pretty good improvement, easier to read, bigger font, which I've been advocating for a long time. In any event, I think folks will enjoy the newsletter. Lastly, on the jail project, of course, we're nearing completion with the state permit review process. The city development agreement was approved this evening. So of course that advances that. So the last remaining thing that we have really is hiccup on the fire, the fire review. Essentially a specification that we have used, or I shouldn't say we, but the architects have used for 20 years regarding skylights is now all of a sudden for Beltrami County no longer allowed. We're the first organization that is seeing this change. We've tried to take it and fight the change all the way up the ladder, and it's been fruitless. It's been about a 3 to 4 week endeavor on our part. But essentially, they're not convinced that the acrylic domed skylights that we're going to put in can be broke by the fire department, despite the fact that the fire department for the city of Bemidji was more than willing to write letters to say we do it all the time and we're capable of doing it. We have the equipment. That was not acceptable. So we're having to use glazed glass skylights, sealed, and that's going to add considerable cost. We do not have a cost estimate yet, but essentially we feel like we're out of options on this. So that's really the last remaining item. And once again, a regulatory change or interpretation in this case has once again added additional costs to our operation. And of course, taxpayers are the ones that foot the bill for that. So it's unfortunate. And again, another reminder of how frustrating this can be and how costly it can be as well. Anyway, that's all I have for you, but I'll stand for any questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions? Commissioner Winger?
Okay, on the Black Duck deal, do you know, because it sounds like they're offering some severance packages once this is closed. If somebody's hired between now and then, because they've made it clear they're letting these people go, are they still going to get that?
I don't know the details of the severance package. I'm sorry to say. We haven't been close to the communications or the agreements around this.
I can actually address some of that.
Oh, great.
Mr. Barry, yeah,
Thank
I
you.
actually spoke with the senior VP of operations with the Shade Store, and their council sent me a letter and told me, kind of what the scoop was with the severance, and I actually asked him that specific question, thinking if we hired some people away, are they going to lose out on because they're supposed to get a minimum of 8 weeks of severance pay as well as 6 months of health insurance. And he said they do have contracts that they do need to continue fulfilling through the end of April. These employees are mostly expected to work through the end of April. So depending upon what the role was, and it sounded like they would try to work with them on that, but he didn't have a definite answer for me with regard to the severance and the health insurance, if they were to actively get a new job prior to being let go. So it sounded like they're going to try to work with the employees up there and their staff as much as possible to help them get reeducated. They've got the rapid response team from Deed that is planning on coming up and helping all of their staff. And it sounded like this was a very tough decision for them to make, but it was just something that they had to do apparently. So I think that they will try to work with the staff if they do find other employment, but didn't give many specifics on whether they would, be able to retain any of those additional benefits. So, yep. Anybody else have any questions for Administrator Barry's report? Okay, Commissioner Winger, you want to go ahead with any legislative lobbying or commissioner reports of any meetings that you've attended?
Yeah, I attended a couple of committee meetings. One was on the household hazardous waste over in Bagley. I was pretty impressed by what I was hearing. Randy really does a good job of running that. Things look pretty decent. They're looking for an intern for summer work. So if anybody knows of anybody that might be interested in helping over there, to send them that way. Went to the Prime West Health Board meeting in Alexandria. There's some issues there that need to be addressed to help keep costs down, so that we don't have to see a rise in insurance costs again. But I think we're on the right track to making that happen. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Winger. Commissioner Gould?
Yeah, there was a Black History Month event at BSU last week that I attended. A former community member, Dr. Gabriel Warren was in town, giving some remarks, former professor at BSU and former school board member at Bemidji Schools. And it was well attended. He had a good message, and appreciated being there. Myself, I noticed a couple other commissioners there too. A childcare event yesterday. It was an awareness event regarding the childcare shortage of slots that we have in our community, especially with those infants to 2-year-olds. A lot of folks in the daycare industry in our community gave really good remarks, and there was some good dialogue questions back and forth. So I'm glad to have received an invite to there, and happy to help out folks on that front as we move forward. Hope House is meeting later this week. They had a mental health day at the Capitol recently, so looking forward to seeing how that went. We have a housing trust fund important meeting coming up on March 10th to review those 6 developer applications. And then I've had a few constituent meetings recently too. So that's about it.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Gould. Commissioner Carlson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have had the Bemidji Regional Airport Authority meeting, monthly meeting. Not a lot going on there, just kind of some normal stuff. I did attend via Zoom a MnDOT Advanced Air Mobility webinar. Those are always interesting. I finally got a chance to visit Nebish Township, and the great folks up there. They had a question for Bruce about why they didn't get a grader and why they have a plow instead of a grader for their snow. But we're working through that. So we're good folks up there. So I had a Greater Bemidji meeting. I attended the MRC meeting down that was in conjunction with the AMC Legislative Conference. And then while I was there, then the next day I spent the entire day with Eric Simonson, our lobbyist. Visited with Eric, we visited, I think, 6 legislators. And then without Eric, I did about another 4 or 5 on my own and went to dinner with a couple of them. Basically, what we were trying to do is get support for House File 1231, which is the bill that would just make the folks at the PCA stop rulemaking, because they're just, this is the one that's really causing us the heartburn on the C&D landfills. And so it's just basically a cease and desist on the rulemaking. And there seemed to be a lot of buzz about wanting to do that. And so they're reaching out and trying to get some bipartisan support for that. But that was part of the main push that we had for that day. As Commissioner Gould said, we had the day without childcare. I want to make sure that my takeaway from that was I had no idea that we had open slots for daycare, that the slots that they need are for, as Commissioner Gould said, are for the infants and up to 2 years old. And so that was enlightening. And that really, it sounded like the in-home providers weren't having a problem with funding as much as they are with rulemaking. Again, rulemaking always goes back to rulemaking, right? Administrator Barry. And so they need some help with regard to staffing for numbers of children. I understand safety is a concern for sure. But there did seem to be a couple different messages that I heard going on at that meeting. And I would be remiss if I didn't do a shout out to Michelle Voorhees. Her name kept coming up in talking with the in-home providers about what a wonderful job she does for the county. And I want to make sure I give a shout out to Michelle for that. And then tomorrow I get chat about.
Thank you, Commissioner Carlson. You already mentioned a little bit about our Airport Authority meeting. I've had an HRDC meeting, and we're doing a reorganization of the executive board due to what I had mentioned earlier about basically the entire executive board being gone from either retirements or hiring as the executive director or just losing their elections. So that'll be happening at our next meeting. And at a planning commission meeting, we are going to have a separate special meeting on March 10th to review the draft shoreland ordinance. Brent Rood's going to get that back on the front burner so we can address the shoreland ordinance that has been sitting out there for 5-6 years. And let's see, went to the day without daycare with the Commissioners Gould and Carlson, and was also very surprised to hear about the fact that we've had the seats available, but just not for the youngsters, the under 2-year-old, and that they're not asking for the world. They're basically asking for like one additional seat especially for the in-home daycares, to have one additional allowed under 2-year-old, and then adjust the age range for school age slightly to I think to put it back the way it used to be. I think they had changed it and now it got changed back or something. Just some simple changes I think could make a huge difference in our childcare around here. So it was very enlightening and great to see the other commissioners attend that as well. The shade store thing, very, very tough deal, but we're going to do what we can as a county and as a community to hopefully help all those displaced workers get other employment and hopefully keep them in our community. I know the tough part will be, the Black Duck community is probably going to have a tough time because of, those people are going to have to, a lot of them are going to have to find jobs outside of the Black Duck community, which is going to be a tough deal for them. So that's all I have. Commissioner Carlson mentioned that he's got chat about tomorrow, and I've got the next couple of management team meetings, and I got the chat about after you the next time. So
I'll be attending via Zoom next week.
Commissioner Carlson will be attending via Zoom next meeting, so we'll make sure we get accommodation, and you've already got that under control as far as where you'll be attending from, so we can get that listed, and, yep, great.
If anybody wants to join me, you're welcome.
Yeah,
Not fair.
okay. All right, well, if anybody has anything else, we can have a motion to adjourn if you want.
So.
Motion
Second.
by Commissioner Carlson, second by Commissioner Gould. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye, we are adjourned. 4-0.